Hey guys, welcome back into the lesson. We're still continuing with question one of the November 2016 question paper. We are still on question one. In this video, we'll be answering from 1.2.3 because we've answered these ones. If you haven't seen that video, you may want to go back and just watch. All right, let's jump straight into it. So here, the owner is concerned about the production level in 2016. The first question is there, they say calculate the break-even point. The break-even point is simply total fixed costs divided by selling price minus variable cost per unit. So let us go and find that information. So something that's been given out there is fixed cost that's been given. So the admin cost and the factory overhead cost are fixed. So that's 343, 340, 226, 660. And then after that, we have, they've also given information in terms of what was the price of each bag, which is 450. And then they also gave us the amount for variable cost per unit, which is 300. And therefore, we have what we need in order to calculate the break-even point. So break-even point, it's the total fixed cost. So the total fixed cost, we have to add that factory, we have to add the factory overhead cost and also add the administration cost because that's also fixed. And then we'll divide by 450 minus 300. And then the answer to that is going to be 3,800 units. So that's the first thing that should have been done there, calculating the break-even point. That's simple enough. And then it says, explain whether the owner should be concerned or not to provide figures. This is also one of those subjective questions where you can say yes or you can say no, as long as you can be able to support your answer. So we know what a break-even point calculates. It calculates a level of production at which the business is not making a profit and is not making a loss. It is just making zero. So if you're producing above the break-even point, it means that you're making profit. But if you're producing below the break-even point, it means that you're making a loss. So we have 3,800 units for break-even point. We actually produced 4,200 bags. So we are making a profit. So what I would say to them, well, you don't need to be concerned because the break-even point is 3,800 units and you're producing 400 units above the break-even point. That's good. Some other person may look at it, yes, you should be concerned. Why should the owner be concerned? Because the business is only producing 400 units above the break-even point. In other words, they not surpassing, just a few mistakes that can happen, they can end up in a loss. So, I mean, it's subjective. For some people, it would be enough profit, but for some people, that profit is just not enough. It's too risky. So it's just about how you answer it. The easiest answer for me, like if I wanted to bring like the easiest answer is that, yeah, be happy because you're making a profit. That's easy to do. But the other one, where you explain like, okay, maybe it's not enough. Well, what is enough profit? So I'd say, no, do not be concerned. The reason for that, the business is producing 400 units above break-even point. Yes, that would be my answer there. Straight, easy marks without having to put complicated explanations. Just keep it simple. All right. The owner is not satisfied with internal control of raw materials, which is the fabric. Let's read it from this side. So the owner is not satisfied with the control of the raw material. Calculate the following regarding the raw material fabric. So the first thing that you need to calculate is calculate the fabric material stolen from the storeroom, and then secondly, meters of fabric wasted in the factory. And then the third thing is to provide a strategy to improve internal control of each of the above. All right, let's start with the fabric material of trading stock. So in the storeroom, we had 1,350 meters of fabric, and then we purchased 5,400, and then we released 5,500, and we are left with 940. So what you just need to do is to say 1,350 plus 5,400 minus 5,500, and then we say minus 940. And if it gives us 0, then it means nothing was stolen. But if it gives us an amount that's above 0, then it means that we have a trading stock deficit, so it must have been stolen or whatever. Must be missing somehow. And then if it's below 0, which means it's negative, well, we have a surplus there. So there's nothing stolen, but we got something from God, I guess. So let's go. So to calculate the first one, we just need to say 1,350, right, plus 5,400. Then we say minus 5,500 because it was listed to the factory, and then minus 940, and then the answer there is 310 meters. 310 meters that are missing. And then the second question, before we move into the strategy, let's just answer the second question. So the second question, it wants to calculate the meters of fabric wasted in the factory. So in order to get what is wasted in the factory, we need to know how much fabric is required to produce 1 unit. And then we see that, and then we compare that with the amount of raw materials that we allocated to the factory. So we do know that 5,500 is the raw materials that were allocated to the factory. And then what we have here is we're told that 1.25 meters of fabric was used to make 1 handbag. So if 1.25 meters is used to make 1 handbag, we need to multiply this 1.25 by 4,200. When you do that, you will get an answer of 5,250. But 5,500 raw materials were sent into the factory. So it means that 250 must have been lost, wasted, whatever the case may be. So what we'll do here is to say 5,500, and then we'll say minus 1.25 multiplied by 4,200 units. Remember that 4,200 is the number of units that were produced, and then you'll get 250 meters wasted in the factory. Cool. And then the last thing to do is to provide a strategy of dealing with each of the above. So you only asked to give one. So the raw materials stolen, my argument there would be to do a regular stock count, so that you actually have the day that you know that if you're doing it regularly, you are sort of able to pinpoint when this inventory was stolen, and then you can be able to act upon it quick than when you're in a position where you counted 6 months ago. So this raw material could have been stolen anytime between that 6 months. You never know. Regular stock count, and then my strategy for raw material being used inefficiently is to train our workers to become more efficient. Maybe you just have bad employees that do not know how to do their job, and you just need to train them a little bit so that they can do a stellar job. And that brings us to the end of our lesson. Tune in for the next lesson in the next video. Cheers for now.